Welcome to another episode of Systematic Geekology. This is a space where we seek to create and cultivate healthy conversations between those things we geek out on and the philosophical and theological questions that often arise out of our fandoms. Like, what does it mean to be human? What makes a hero? What makes a villain? How do the stories and narratives we geek out on shape how we live in the world? We are your priest to the geeks. We aren't all ordained, but we see ourselves as mediators at the intersection of geek culture and going deeper in our faith. We don't always have to agree, but we do respect each other, and we see everyone as a beloved child of God. Everyone geeks out on something, so come geek out with us and enjoy the show.
You're listening to an Anazal Ministries podcast.
What were our favorite games of the Xbox, PlayStation 2, and Nintendo GameCube era? We're Systematic Geekology. We are the Priests of the Geeks. I'm your host, Christian Ashley, and I am joined by two lovely human beings. Of course, a returning guest, Rev Laura Wittman. How are you doing today, Laura?
Hi, I'm doing good. It's good to be here.
Excellent. And of course, you know him. You love him. The one who gifted humanity with the ability to play on console form for the first time. TJ Blackwell. How's it going, TJ?
Great. Thank you.
Excellent. Guys, what have you been geeking out on today or recently?
Ooh, for me, it's what I'm always geeking out on, which is my ADHD obsession with 3D printers. So I recently got a new Bamboo Lab P1S. We're talking about gaming, so my brain shifted. But it's an amazing 3D printer, and I'm always happy to talk about 3D printing because it's a serious obsession in my house.
Yeah.
Okay.
I remember being like middle school-ish, and people started talking about like the possibility of 3D printing because I'm 25. And I was like, oh, that's awesome. I can't wait. And now I just can't afford them, but now it exists. So that's awesome.
Yeah.
So
yeah, that's something that's been explained to me multiple times over, and it just looks like black magic to me, and I'm like 5 seconds away from burning someone at the stake. So I'm glad other people understand it.
yeah, it's so awesome. But today is the start of season 1 of Black Ops 6. So mostly that, see what it's like, to really, I'm going to try and get actually invested into the lifespan of this game. We'll see what happens. It's Call of Duty, so I probably won't stick it out. You get level 100 or 55, and then you prestige 10 times. Now you hit Prestige Master, and then you get to level 900 or 1,000 at Prestige Master. I don't think I'm doing all that, but I'm going to stick it out, see how long I can try.
Yeah. My husband has prestiged all of his weapons and everything. I'm at level like 37, and I'm just getting my double XP every time we order Little Caesars. That's not I don't get paid for that advertisement, but I've been playing a lot of Call of Duty too. Yeah, I'm here for Nuketown is what I'm here for.
It's a good advertisement though. Yeah. If you do play, you should be eating at Little Caesars.
You should. Maybe they'll sponsor us now.
It's worth it. I have a lot of respect for the foundation of Little Caesars, so.
Yes. Anyways.
I'm not even kidding.
While I was down at NC Comic-Con with Will and Pang, we went to one of the barcades nearby that Will frequents, and they have the Star Wars Trilogy arcade game that, as a kid, I never once could beat. And now, with a little more money and Will's backing as well, I got to finally beat all 3 of those things, and it felt pretty dang good.
Yep. Baxter?
Something.
Is that the one?
Yeah. I think that's the name of it.
Yeah. So
yeah. This used to be one of those things that dad would say, hey, here's $1 for quarters. And of course, that wasn't enough. So now I get to actually say I beat the game. So speaking of games, we're going to be doing today a top 3 list of the generations we mentioned earlier. TJ, would you like to explain to the good people why this is the 6th generation and not the 2nd, like someone attempted to say to have this episode come into focus in reality?
Right. So planning this episode, one of our good friends, one of our best friends, and also host on the show, Joshua Knoll, Was under the impression that this is the sixth generation of or second generation of consoles. Second generation is like Atari 2600, ColecoVision, like late 70s, early 80s. We're far away from that.
Yes, a little before our times.
Yeah, 6th gen started in 1998, which is still currently before my time. But not, growing up, like this is what I had. So in 98, the first Gen 2 console was the Dreamcast, which I feel like or Gen 6. Now Josh has messed me up. Was the Dreamcast, which I feel like it's left out of the conversation a lot because it was kind of like the end of Sega being good at making games. So I just feel like I should bring that up. But PS2, Dreamcast, Xbox, OG, I guess we should start calling it. We can't call it the Xbox One because that was a brilliant naming scheme. And Nintendo GameCube are our Gen 6 consoles. So
okay. So as we gather here today to talk about these, like which of these consoles did we have and play?
So for me, I had an Xbox OG. I got it on my 6th birthday, which I want to say was like the year before the Xbox 360 came out, or maybe I was 6 or 7. I don't quite remember. I want to say it was like 2005 when I got it. So I was like post all the early bad titles and well into Halo dominance.
Yes.
So then that's when I got mine, and then later when I was like early teens, maybe like I got a PS2. We borrowed a PS2 from a guy, and I played that for a little while. But I didn't really get GameCube games until we bought a Wii. And I got to go back and enjoy all the GameCube titles. So I had at one point all of these except the Dreamcast, which I feel like is pretty common.
Yeah. What you telling me that 6-year-old TJ was playing a rated M game, playing Halo? Are your parents that cool?
Yeah, I was playing way more rated M games than Halo. I was playing the Chronicles of Riddick when I was like 7.
So I grew up in a big video game family. Like my parents, we always had all the systems. I don't really know why, we just did. My dad was a pastor, so it wasn't because of his pastor money, but he did a lot of like side work, like electrical contracting and stuff like that, because he's a man of many talents. But he would always do that extra stuff so that we could have video game systems because it meant a lot to him. So we always had all the systems. The only one I didn't have originally, like when it first came out, was the Xbox, but I dated boys that had them at their houses. So I would always go play on their Xboxes. But I did have a GameCube, and I know we'll get into this question later, but I bought a GameCube for one game only, and that was Rogue Squadron. So that was where that game came into my life, and the GameCube came into my life.
That's a crazy and then, of course, one game choice.
Do what?
That's a crazy, the reason I bought the system game.
It is the reason I bought that system. And my husband, who I did not know at the time, would second that. Yes. And then eventually I had a PS2 also.
Okay. Yeah. Growing up on a teacher's salary, we didn't have these fancy things as they released. So I was normally a generation behind people. Never had a GameCube. I had friends who had it, so I would play with them. Didn't have the PS2. I didn't get into that until the PS4 was out and I could buy things on my own. But he did buy us an Xbox because Dad had we'd grown up on Super Nintendo and stuff like that. And finally we moved forward in time, got the Xbox and fell in love with the system. So I've played on the other systems, but I was really an Xbox kid at that point in time. So being that go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, I should probably mention that my first job, this is the second product placement of the episode, I'm sorry, but I worked at Build-A-Bear, and it was in Haynes Mall in Winston-Salem, North Carolina. I worked at Build-A-Bear, and that was how I saved my money for my GameCube. And the GameStop at the time was right across the hall from the Build-A-Bear, so it was really exciting walking and getting my GameCube and then walking back to Build-A-Bear with my fancy GameCube. It was a whole life experience. First system I bought for myself.
Even better. Yeah, it's a nice sense of accomplishment that comes with that. The wallet doesn't feel too good after the fact, but you feel a little good.
Exactly.
Yeah. So being that we're doing a top 3 list, what makes a good game for us? Like, what are our qualifications for why we're labeling these as we are?
Impact.
Impact? Okay.
Yeah. We're talking about games that are so old that generally they're, barely playable to a lot of people these days. You just kind of have to set aside like the modern conveniences to enjoy it. But a lot of these titles had such a large impact on so many of us because we're still thinking about them 20 years later.
And plenty of franchises are still in existence that started around this time too.
Mm-hmm. Like Halo.
Laura, how about you? Oh, yes.
Yeah, I think, some of it, I would agree, impact is definitely a part of it. I think for me, those games, a lot of these, because I am an old woman. So for me, these were like the breakthroughs in technology where we were like, whoa, these graphics are amazing. And you felt like you were escaping into something that looked very real when you were flying around in Rogue Squadron. Now we know better, right? But at the time we were like, this is incredible.
Yes.
And so it was a different time back then.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll second everything said by my co-host here. I'll also add, just give me a fun place to play in, build a world where I can just get lost in there. Give me characters that I care about, that, I want to see succeed. You can even, don't preach at me, but preach to me if you have a message in the game about something there that, otherwise as a teenager, I wouldn't have actually cared about if I hadn't have been there in a game that, told me about something a little greater than what I was normally thinking about. Yeah, all these things kind of make a good game to me. And also, replayability is something I would put very high on the list. It's not on my list because I consider it to be the generation beforehand. But Rogue Squadron, I played the heck out of that game. Also because I played it on PC, so I wasn't really counting it towards the console part. But how many times I played it 2 years ago on Steam, for just the nostalgic feeling of, oh man, I used a joystick forever ago. These controls are janky, and this is still fun.
It's true.
Yeah. You get some games that are not, I wouldn't say necessarily, had a huge cultural impact, but Twisted Metal Black is still really, really fun. And now they got a TV series, so I guess that counts for something.
Yeah. So one thing looking back is criticism some people would throw our way would be you're just being nostalgic for what you selected. Do they have a point? Does nostalgia color our perception at times when it comes to these games?
Yeah, I think it can for sure.
Okay. In what way?
Because I'll just mention one now. I was going to bring up Turok Evolution as one of my games because I just had so much fun with that when I was little, but I know for a fact that if I tried to play Turok Evolution now, I would not have that great of a time. Because I played the Turok reboot in 2009, 2008, whatever. That game's bad.
Yeah, you raise a good point there, and I'm actually thinking as well. We didn't really bring in the console, the virtual consoles. What was it around this time? Advance, for Nintendo.
Game Boy Advance.
Yeah. Is it this time? Don't trust me
Something
for history. Okay. And we could have added that to the list, but I guess in hindsight, that's for later on because there were plenty of good games on there too. But just there is a sense of nostalgia of when I hear the credits opening on some of these games I'm going to be mentioning, it'd be I know I'm in for a fun time because I remember all the times I had fun before. And then I can overlook the jankier, movement systems of piloting a StarCraft or the broken bugs and glitches that you just took for granted because we don't have patches in the same way then as we do now. So, yeah, there's nostalgia most definitely behind a lot of my answers here, but I think those games still stand on their own for why I picked them. So anything you'd like to add, Laura?
Yeah, I think nostalgia is a huge thing, right? Things hit us a certain way based on where we are in our life, right? So for me, these systems were my late high school, early college years. So they were my first years, being independent and being a grown up, but still holding on to things that helped me I made friends in college because of Xbox and because of Halo. So most of my life connections, that the first boy I dated in college who I played Halo with introduced me to who is now my husband. So it's a wild story, but there's deep connections there. And I think, people can say it's just nostalgia, but nostalgia drives a lot of the happiness and joy that we find in our life, right? So I wouldn't say that's a bad thing. I'd say I'm leaning into that nostalgia and I'm here for it.
Yeah. I think if we can go through like nostalgia, yes, this makes me feel good, but we can also like soberly say, yeah, there's a flaw there in the system that as a kid I didn't care about, but as an adult I go, okay, yeah, that's messed up. Or yeah, I would have wished that had been done better. I think you can have a happy medium between the two.
For sure. I mean, how many hours I put into Halo, I have this strange affinity for long gray hallways. So whenever I see a long gray hallway, I'm like, oh, this feels like home,
No, that's so true. Have you ever seen those like Zillow reviews people will do of like weird houses? And there's, I saw one that just had like a concrete underground level, like long concrete hallways. I was like, oh, that's awesome. That's great. I would love that. But I feel like a lot of what makes this generation special, and like, every generation before this even, is at this time, we're not making games for profit necessarily. We're making games so that people have something to enjoy and also to make money, but mostly to put out excellent playable experiences for people, because that's how you got them to buy the game.
There's not as many studio execs messing.
Yeah. We're not profit driven at this point, in console history.
That's a good point as well. All right. Well, what do you say? Let's get into these bad boys. All right. So before we actually get into our top three, would anyone like to give any honorable mentions that just didn't make the list? Go for it, Laura.
Okay, so I have a real hot take. Okay. One of my favorite games of all time on the GameCube was Star Fox Adventures, which everyone I've ever talked to would argue is probably one of the worst games made. However, I had so many nights playing that game with my mom. And so it was my mom is still around. She's fine. It was one of the last video games that I remember playing a lot with my mom before she kind of got like video games weren't her thing anymore. And so it has some deep, again, nostalgia to me. But I just remember just being in awe of that game when it came out. And when I realized that other people didn't like it, it broke my heart. So that's my hot take for the night.
Yeah. I do have one. I would feel bad if I didn't mention it, but on the GameCube, it was like Total War Spartan, or Spartan Total War, or the other. Like, no one's ever played this game. I just had a ton of fun with it. Looking back, I can tell that it just wasn't fun at all. But it was completely responsible for me breaking, at least partially responsible for me breaking my copy of Pokemon Coliseum for the GameCube. Because I just had, Coliseum was just sitting there on the table, like on the media center, and Total War made me really mad, so I threw my GameCube controller, and it just perfectly hit the Coliseum disc and broke it in half.
Oh, what a tragedy!
Don't listen to that Snorlax.
It was awful. It was a horrible day.
He was a younger man.
Yeah. Never even beat it. I was too mad at it to play it. I don't think I ever played it again, actually.
Okay. Any other picks for anyone?
I want to put Turok as an honorable mention. Turok Evolution. Like, I had a lot of fun playing that game with my dad. We'd get on like multiplayer, split screen, old school. Turok Evolution. And he was always better than me because I was like 7. That's different now. But now we don't play games together as much because I'd have to drive all the way over there. It's a hassle.
Yeah.
But I did have a lot of fun with that game when I was young.
Okay. Too much work to beat up the old man now.
Yeah. Yu-Gi-Oh! Duelist of the Roses on PS2 while I had that. Great Yu-Gi-Oh! Game. Most Yu-Gi-Oh! Games are pretty much the same. That one was just cool.
Okay. Laura, any more for you?
Not for me.
Okay. I have a lot, and I will be brief for time's sake, and we're going to notice... Yes, TJ.
Well, yeah, Twisted Metal Black. I think I already mentioned it by name. That deserves an honorable mention. It is a ton of fun still to this day.
Yeah, we're going to notice this theme at the very beginning of Star Wars. Star Wars Battlefront 1 and 2. I played the heck out of those games. I love them to this day. I actually just played them with co-host John Erdley at his house not too long ago when I was over there. That was a ton of fun. Jedi Knight 2, Jedi Outcast, Really enjoyed that one. And of course, honorable mention to the first in the Knights of the Old Republic series, which may give away something later on, but maybe on my list. So the original is an honorable mention for me. Final Fantasy X is also on that honorable mention list. Persona 4, Halo 2, which is probably the one I've played the most outside of maybe 3. And then for Joshua and for Will to Have to Drink, Kingdom Hearts 2 is also on my honorable mentions list.
All right.
Okay. So we're going to go top 3, starting from 3, 2 to 1. Would like to go, let's keep it consistent. Who wants to go first?
I say Laura. Laura goes first.
Okay, so are we doing of like top 3 of all of them or top 3 of a particular system?
I mean,
all of them.
Let's say all of them for the sake of it.
To make it harder.
Okay, so I'm going to be really boring. Y'all aren't going to like my top 3, but my number 3, I would put GTA Vice City was one of my favorites of all time. And I played the heck out of that game numerous times.
Yeah, it's classic.
Okay. Yeah, I was not allowed to play at that age. And I only played a little bit later on, and it just never really caught me. But yeah, I know I got the appeal. I had a ton of friends who played through that game. So, Laura, why do you love Vice City?
Oh, okay. So this is going to sound great. I loved that I could like beat up people and steal their cars and there was no consequences. So that's a great thing for me to be known for on the internet. I just thought that was fun, and you could shoot things and, you know, run around and get into all kind of antics. And here's what's funny is like in real life, I'm the biggest rule follower on the planet. But I think that's one of the reasons I love those kind of games is because it's just total chaos, and you can even outrun the cops. Like after a while, they stop chasing you, right? So, you know, it's a win-win. So
perfect.
I go to therapy. Everything's fine.
All these questions will be asked about every single game. So how many times do you think you played through GTA Vice City?
A lot. Probably. Oh, I don't even know. At least maybe 10 times. And that might be being conservative. For a while, to be fair, that was the only game I had on my PS2 for a while. So that could have something to do with it. But I've played it a lot. Absolutely loved that game.
Okay. Do you have a favorite character from the game? All right. Fair enough. How about a favorite moment?
Favorite moment would be the first time that I stole someone's car. You're seeing a theme here. So it's like the first 10 seconds of the game. You're like, boom, shoot, car, win. It's great. All of it.
Okay. Anything in particular you don't like about the game that you'd like to change maybe?
I mean, I would love like a revamped, updated version of it. That would be really cool nowadays, but no complaints.
All right. Now, if you were to say, hey, kid, it's time for you to play GTA Vice City, would you actually recommend it to them right now?
To my kids?
No, in general. So anyway, I said kid. As a gamer, I think kid starting off. But like, if someone said, hey, give me a video game recommendation, would Vice City be on your list?
Oh, I would totally put it on my list for sure. Okay. Yeah.
All right. You passed the hot seat first. TJ, you're up.
So I don't want to have like a boring top 3. And I don't want to steal one of Christian's.
Oh, man, you can still say it, TJ. It's fine.
Cool. I don't want. It's not a third either. That's the problem. But I want to say it before Christian. That's really where I'm conflicted. But I'm going to go with Ninja Gaiden Black for number 3.
Ooh.
Or Sigma.
Tough game.
Either one. They're both, different console versions. Doesn't really matter. But Ninja Gaiden Black is the one I had because it was on Xbox. So good. It was my first experience with like a really hard game, and it's awesome.
Okay. So
awesome.
What about it makes you love it?
It's like traditional power fantasy. Okay. I get to be super cool ninja. Duh. 10 out of 10 game. But
perfect for little 7-8-year-old TJ.
Yeah. Yeah, I should not have been playing those games. But I love Ninja Gaiden as a series, except for 3, Razor's Edge. That one's really bad. I have played through Ninja Gaiden Black maybe 20 times. I used to do it all the time. I used to be able to do it in a day when I was younger, before I moved on to other games that are also on this list. And it just doesn't get much cooler than Ryu. Ryu Hayabusa, the coolest guy named Ryu in video games. There is a little competition, but I don't think it's that strong. Ryu was like one of my probably number 1 or 2 pick for being in Smash Bros. And I was crushed when he did not get into Ultimate. That he would have been so awesome. Oh, it would have been so cool. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. How many times have you played through it? Yeah, through the list.
Probably at least 20. Okay. 15 to 20. I love it. I might go play it later. It's still hard. Like to this day, it is still hard. Like if you go get on like PlayStation Network and like go to the PlayStation Classics or whatever they call that now, you can play it. It's still hard. It's still really hard. Favorite character, gotta be Ryu. Favorite moment? Okay. Favorite moment's hard. Favorite moment's really hard. Probably unlocking the true Dragon Sword for the first time. Okay. And you just get like a whole bunch of new combos you have to learn how to use, and the sword's just way stronger. You blow through areas that you were before. It's so fun. It's just like you're like at this point you're good at the game, and now it gives you the tools to be untouchable, which still is not going to happen because this is Ninja Gaiden Black. Yeah. You're going to get touched. Yeah.
Anything you don't like about it?
The camera.
the greatest enemy of all gamers, the camera.
Oh, it is so bad in Ninja Gaiden. It is awful. Even in like 2 and even in 3, it's not really good. And like it needed to be good. And if the camera was fine in Ninja Gaiden 3, I might have played it more because like it's the worst one. But the camera's still bad. It came out in like 2010 or 9 or like 12 or something. Unacceptable. But I would absolutely recommend that everyone plays Ninja Gaiden Black or Sigma. Okay. Just play the first Ninja Gaiden game.
Perfect. Well, it is my turn. And I am going to say, I think I've said Halo 2 in my honorable mentions. I meant to say Halo because my number 3 is Halo 2. And I fell in love with this game because I played Halo sometimes with my dad, sometimes with my brother, and just going through the game was a ton of fun, like exploring these different parts of Earth, but then also on the Halos themselves, but also following the Covenant side of things. We get the Arbiter and Master Chief working together. Foes turn to allies as time goes on. That was a ton of fun for me as a kid. We were too poor to afford multiplayer, but later on, when I was able to do so, it was also just one of those things. Oh man, I'm interacting with other people online and I get to kill them. That's cool. And there's no repercussions because it's not real.
It's true.
Yeah. How many times have I played the game? Campaign at least maybe 8 or 9 times, but like total times for multiplayer too, there's not even a number. I don't know. Favorite character, Cortana. I've always really appreciated her and being, the voice of reason because, Chief is not exactly the greatest emoter in the world. And we get her to be the voice of reason to also like be incredibly smart and work alongside him as he cares about the physical side of things and she can hack into what needs to get done there. Favorite moment from the game.
That's exactly why I told my mom I liked Cortana when I was like 13.
Yes, there are other reasons I liked her growing up, but we won't dwell on that at the moment.
It's in the past.
Yeah, favorite moments. Gosh, from 2, I guess it would be like realizing, we're fighting on Earth, and that's bad. The Covenant are here, and they're going to glass the whole planet, and I'm the only one who can stop them. And that's just like power gaming is one of those things we love coming into a game or being like the hero of the story. You feel like the hero of the story when you stop the initial assault on Earth and then find out more about the Flood later on. So I throw that in there. Anything I don't like about it? Legendary, I'm just bad. I used to be younger. My reflexes were better, but if I tried doing it now, it'd be real bad. So I'd just say that I'm getting old. And would I recommend that someone play it now? If you can go back, if you can realize that, the upgrades that you have later on in other games, sprinting and jetpacks and stuff like that aren't going to be the same, you're going to be perfectly fine playing Halo 2.
Yeah, you don't need them.
Yeah. All right, number 2.
Do you love systematic ecology as much as I do? Of course you do. So why don't you hop on over to the Systematic Ecology shop and get yourself some merch. We have clothing like hats, extra soft t-shirts, sweaters, hoodies. We even have glassware and mugs. One of my favorite coffee mugs that I use every morning is a coffee mug that has on it, share the faith, share the geek. Yeah, I get my geek on first thing every morning, thinking of systematic geekology. And I know you need to hop over there and get you some merch, represent us out in the wild, out in the public, and let people know that you too like to share the faith and share the geek.
Laura, let's hear it.
So this might be a bit of an outlier, but remember that once again, I was in my college days. So one of my favorite and most played games of all time, I have to mention Guitar Hero, because that was like half of my college experience. So, I mean, we would have like whole weekends where we did nothing but play Guitar Hero and still like absolutely loved that series and all of the variations that came from that, and Rock Band too. But Guitar Hero was, you know, playing Sweet Child of Mine while, or pretending that you're playing Sweet Child of Mine, because there's nothing like playing a real guitar. But while you're, you know, partying with your friends and drinking water, you know, was a great time in college. So.
Oh, excellent. Yeah, that's one of those games I'm just bad. My fingers are worthless if they're not typing. So I would like watch other people play, and was glad that they could do it.
I invested a lot of time in getting absolute perfect scores on most of the songs on that game. It was very important to me. It was a life goal. So, you know,
Yeah. If
I accomplished nothing else.
Have you ever seen people play Clone Hero?
No.
It's insane. Like those kids who like just used to sweat super hard on Guitar Hero, these days they just play Clone Hero. Literally any song you can imagine. Just random videos get transposed into Guitar Hero tabs. They play through. It's nuts.
That's amazing.
It's insane.
Wow. Okay. So why do you love the game?
I loved it. I think I've loved karaoke my whole life, right? So like from the time I was a kid, and my kids are like that too. You put them in karaoke and they're like on instantaneously. Don't know where they get that from. But, you know, there's something about it that I think invites people to be silly and to just be who they are, and to do that through music. And I think music brings people together. And so to celebrate really good music, especially because when that game first came, like, it was all classic rock, you know, like the good stuff. And so there's something about it that just, the game, even before it was nostalgic. And so it just something I love. My husband and I, when we first started dating, we would play Guitar Hero all the time together. And so there's some meaningful stuff there too. And that was a big part of our connection. So yeah.
Excellent. That is probably going to be impossible to answer, but how many times do you think you played through Guitar Hero?
Oh, there's so many hours put into Guitar Hero. I would actually not want to know that number, because it's probably significant. You know, nowadays you play a game and you pull up Animal Crossing on your Nintendo and it's like 300 hours. And you're like, oh my gosh, what did I do with my life? So
that's how I feel about Skyrim. That's how I feel about Skyrim, because all the different, things I've played it on, and the Steam alone, I see like hundreds of hours. I'm like, oh man, what have I done with my life?
See, that's why I'm really glad that I've like switched. Like, I went from Xbox 360 to PlayStation 4 and 5, and now I'm on PC. So like, I don't have any like really embarrassingly high numbers because they're all split up. It's great.
All right. Not really any favorite characters. How about a favorite song that you played in the game?
Sweet Child of Mine.
I disagree.
Like, okay.
You can have a favorite character. It's Johnny Napalm.
Fair. So Sweet Child of Mine. Any others that you were like, they were the ones you had to play?
Oh, not that I can think of off the top of my head right now, but I'm sure it'll come to me eventually.
Painkiller.
That's a good one too. Yeah.
Painkiller used to be like the finger destroyer.
Oh, Rock You Like a Hurricane. That was another fun one that was on there too.
Okay. So do you remember like any like epic moments that you had to be like, oh man, I'm in a moment. This is fun. Like getting that high score, like working to that perfection, then finally getting there.
So when I was in college, I used to hang out with the golf team a lot, and they thought that they were the best at that game. And there was one weekend that I absolutely destroyed all of them. And so that's the one victory. I was not an athlete, couldn't do like sports of any kind, but you put me on Guitar Hero and I destroyed everyone. And so there were moments where I thought I looked really cool doing it, but my face was probably more like, the whole time, like not cute, but I felt cool. So that's what matters, right?
It doesn't matter what you look like by the end if you win.
That's right.
It's true.
Well, anything in particular you don't like about the game?
No. I think I really would love to see that kind of game like come back in full force, in some ways, like, because it was a phenomenon for a while there. And I would just like, we have all of our old games, but I would love to have something, new. And I know there's aspects of like Fortnite that have that kind of, thing in it now, which is fun, but it's not the same, so
it's not the same. It is really good though.
It is fun, and I do like playing it, and I love destroying my kids on it, but that's
it's like upsetting.
It's a nice communal experience.
It is
to have a bunch of people over, one or two people playing, just watching them. If you want to contribute, you could. Yeah, I get it. Yep. We already answered the question. You'd recommend people would play it now too, and 100%. You're doing it with your children and making sure that they know who's the alpha.
Yeah, exactly. They know. There's two things they can't beat me at: Guitar Hero and Mario Kart. So
there you go. All right, TJ, you're number 2.
There are so many games. Like, the more I think about it, it's so hard to choose. Like, because I do want to say Halo 2 and like Star Wars: Knights of the Old Republic 1 and 2. There's too many good games. I should have written it down, but I wouldn't have committed to that list either. So there was really no reason.
That's why I did it. I would not have remembered them in the moment, so I wrote them down beforehand.
Yeah, I would have just looked at the list and been like, no. Choosing something else.
Too many.
I'm gonna say, because you did Halo 2, I'm gonna just throw like a ditto on Halo 2, and I'm gonna talk about Tom Clancy's Splinter Cell Chaos Theory.
Okay.
So good. So what an absolute classic. Just phenomenal game. Like, the stealth aspects, combat was decent. But the stealth mechanics in this game were revolutionary to me at the time, because I was 7. And I think to the general public as well, it was really good, if I remember right. But it's another one of those cases where, like, this is one of the first games that I can remember having, what do they call it? Like multiplayer, but the sides aren't even.
Split screen?
No. It's not split screen. Like, I don't remember what it's called, but games like Evolve, where one person is the monster and the other 5 people are the thing. What is that called?
Gosh.
Because in Chaos Theory, one team is the mercenaries and one team is spies. And they have like completely different abilities.
Yeah, I'm totally blanking on that. I know what you're talking about.
But this game is one of the first games where that was a thing, where you and the enemy were just different completely, and better at different things. So that was super fun to do, like with my dad, with my cousin. Great time. I don't remember a ton of the story. I remember thinking it was good enough for me to want to love to play the game. So I did. Just so good. I probably played through it for a little while. I was just playing through it like constantly, because I was too lazy to like get up and look for another game. So I'd like finish it and be like, I can do better than that. Because like back then, you'd get like graded for how well you did. It's like, I can do better. So I just do it again and again and again until I was perfect on a level, and then keep going. And so I have no idea how many times I've played through it.
Yeah.
But, favorite character. I'm trying to think, is there any way it could be anyone other than Sam Fisher? No, it's Sam Fisher. Like, he's awesome. I really wish Tom Clancy had stuck to this kind of game instead of like going to Rainbow Six Siege. Not a fan of Siege. The other Rainbow Six games were really good though. But like, this is what I feel like we're missing. Good stealth game. People don't make this anymore. Favorite moment though? The very beginning of the game, you pull up on your little, whatever they call them, those boats that Marines use. It's just like a raft with an engine on it. And you have to infiltrate this compound on an island. It's super dark. It's rainy. It looks gorgeous because I'm 7. But you have so many different routes you can take to like sneak into this. It's so great. You can choose a different one every time. It's so fun. I don't know if I played it again, I'd probably be able to tell you something I don't like about it pretty fast. But just from memory, not really. I feel like the AI probably wasn't good but that's not really something I can levy against a game from 2002. Like,
Fair.
yeah, I'm just going to walk behind the guy and he's not going to turn around because why would he? But that's not the game's fault, you know? It can't be perfect. Yeah. I do recommend it, though. If you never played like the stealthier Splinter Cell games, Chaos Theory or Pandora Tomorrow.
I always wanted to like those games, and I was always really terrible at them. And I was always really, really terrible at them. And it's because I have no patience, right? This is why I like Halo games and Call of Duty, because I can just run out and shoot everything. But like the games where you have to be stealthy and not obvious, I don't know what my deal is, but I can't like hide behind things and do things the way you're supposed to do in those games. But I love the idea of them, and I like watching people play them who are good at them.
Yeah, I probably wasn't because I was 7.
You were also 7,
but I felt good.
That's what matters.
There you go.
Yeah, you got to try it if you never did though. Pandora Tomorrow, I feel like people generally like better, but Chaos Theory is just cooler to me.
Okay. Now, for my number 2, I'm picking the original Marvel Ultimate Alliance. They released on both 360 and Xbox. So obviously, I had the Xbox, so I'm including it on this list. And this was one of those games as a kid who loved all the cartoons that had Marvel characters in them. And I was reading the comics that my dad had. This was made for me. This was made to like experience all these different characters fighting against the villains and teaming up and figuring out what the mystery is all about. And what really made me fall in love with the game is just that I got to see them interact with each other, just like they would in my comics and my cartoons. And I got to actually be them. I got to control Spider-Man. There's a reason he's my avatar, and this is one of them. It's just being him on that game was just so much fun. And then teaming him up with, Captain America and Wolverine and Thor and Mr. Fantastic and so on and so forth was just a ton of fun. Loving the game for the characters I got to play as, the story they did, the villains you get to fight against was just a lot of fun. How many times have I played through it? It'd have to be about 12 to 14-ish times. They re-released them on PS4 not terribly long ago and got to replay them again then. Favorite character? I mean, there's no other answer. It's just Spider-Man. He's there from the very beginning. You get to wall crawl around. They've got special animation for it. His level up move says a ton of fun. Like you start with him at the very beginning and he never left my party. Favorite moment? There's a ton, but I got to go with like the first time you're on a mission. You think you're going to be going into Latveria and they've got these destructible environments that as a kid, I was just trained to break them down. And there are these weird like circusy things instead of if you break down these pillars. And I'm going, wait a minute, there's no reason why Dr. Doom would have this in his castle in Latveria. There's something going on here. And I was rewarded for that experience. We're not in Latveria, we're in Murder World. And we're fighting against Arcade. It was a ton of fun. And like as a kid, I was like, it blew my mind. It's like, oh, I was right. I guessed the story before it happened. So yeah, that's something for me there. Anything I don't like about them? Some of the characters aren't the best as far as like their level up move set and everything. Like Blade suffers, Elektra suffers. You get Silver Surfer way too late in the game. Nick Fury's okay, but that'd be something I'd change about it. Story is pretty much absolutely perfect. And would I recommend someone play it? Absolutely. Like even the X-Men games they did before that were pretty good. Marvel Ultimate Alliance 2 was okay. It wasn't as good as the first, and I only played a little bit of 3. So if you want to go back, definitely do that one. All right.
I feel like that was my exact team, though. At least a few times was like Blade, Elektra, Ghost Rider, fourth person. Didn't matter. Blade was just so cool. Also, like going back and playing like Ultimate Alliance 1 and 2, like post MCU, and just being like, oh, I forgot Nick Fury was white. I forgot that used to be a thing. Super funny every time.
Yeah. Okay. So now it's time. The moment of truth. Our number 1 from the not second, but 6th generation of video game consoles. Laura.
Okay.
Show us your wisdom.
So my wisdom as a 95-year-old woman. I'm not 95, just 39.
Nowhere close.
Yeah, great for 95.
Clean about 30s as long as I can. So let me paint you a picture. you're in college and you're in a room with like 6 TVs and 6 Xboxes, and all of them are connected together because you're having a LAN party because Wi-Fi doesn't exist at your school yet. And it smells like Doritos and boys, because boys are gross in college. And but you don't care because everybody's all, I'm sorry guys, it's true, boys are gross in college.
You're
I
not
can say
wrong.
that confidently as someone who works at a college still, but boys are just kind of gross at that age.
Boys are
But
gross.
anyway, smells like boys and pizza and Doritos, and you're having the time of your life because you're playing Halo. And is Halo, the OG, is not my favorite Halo of all time, but it's my favorite Halo of this generation. And just because it's what truly introduced me to first-person shooters, which are my all-time favorite type of game. Halo, the series, is my favorite series of all time, of all video games. So like the OG just has such a place of love and joy for me, because I remember just how really bad I was at it when I first started. And like I was one of those people that took the controller and like the cameras all over the place because nobody had taught me how to like use it properly. But eventually I figured it out. And eventually I got that first headshot. And eventually it was like, oh no, I really enjoy this game. And it became like maybe an obsession, but something that I just loved so much that it has remained a part of my life. And there hasn't been a Halo game that has come out that I haven't played since then. And it hold, like I said, gray hallways. There's something very nostalgic about the gray hallways that go on forever. But I loved that game, and I loved when they came back with the anniversary edition later on, and you could pivot between what it looks like on the anniversary edition and how gray everything was and how flat everything was. But to me, a lot of my love for Halo really is, I think, discovering something new that I was actually good at, even though I didn't think I would be. It was discovering this new story that I loved so much. I played it on repeat, and my husband and I still replay it together at least once a year.
Nice.
And play through like the series and go through all of that. And, Halo was the game that even when I was pregnant with my first kid, I played Halo like the whole pregnancy. And it is like my therapy. And it's, you know how you have those comfort shows that you go back and watch, like mine is The Office. I watch The Office on repeat. You have those comfort shows. You don't have to think about what's going to happen. You just watch it. And Halo is my comfort game that I don't even think about the story half the time. I just go through the motions and play the game. But I love it. And as a Bible nerd, I love the language of covenant and, just the way that the story is written in such a way that throughout the story, eventually you get all of this biblical language that's just so, anyway, that was a diatribe, but that's my love.
It's your number one.
Halo, it's my number one, and I love it very much. So
yeah, well said. I mean, like, how many times have we replayed those games? Just the map, where to find the skulls and everything. It's just it's just fun. There's something therapeutic about the comfort you get from what you already know and understand. Yeah. And doing it again. I get it. Now, can you think about how many times you've actually played through Halo Combat Evolved?
It's a lot. I don't even know, because even just with my husband, we've been married 15 years and we've played it through together, numerous times, and I'd played through it numerous times. I mean, probably maybe 20 or 30 times I've played through that game. So it's a lot. But I love it. And, there's a house, this is so random. There's a house down the street from us that their mailbox number is 117. And every time we pass their house, I'm like, I wonder if that guy's name is John, because if not, It should be.
Probably. Statistically, yeah.
I mean, the odds are good, chance.
Right? Yeah. I think you should probably knock and ask one day.
I probably should. Yeah, just
hey. Reach in there and grab some mail, see if his name is John.
That's true. I'm sure that won't look suspicious at all.
What do you think about Spartans?
Just read it, put it back. What is your favorite Halo then? ODST?
My ODS, 3? No. Reach is actually my favorite.
Good answer. Okay.
And I love Halo Reach, and I've played that one ad nauseum as well, but it's my favorite Halo of all time.
Good.
I like 3 also, but Halo Reach is my favorite.
I was just a little afraid you were going to say 4.
No.
or Guardians.
Yeah, I haven't played past 4, so I have no clue where it goes. I've heard it declines in
I don't
quality.
know that you need to play it past 4. I'm not one of those people that like hated 5, but it definitely wasn't my favorite. So
Okay.
Sure.
Well, Laura, do you have a favorite character from the games?
Master Chief.
Okay.
That was a bit of a cop-out answer, but it's true.
No. Like,
and I
you
love
get to be
Cortana
him.
too, but yeah.
John Halo.
I like Halo. He fights aliens and doesn't afraid of anything.
Yeah, it's really great.
Yeah, Halo is awesome. Love that guy.
Halo. Sorry. That's funny.
Do you have a favorite moment from the first game?
Oh, I don't know about favorite moment. I think, like, honestly, it's the feeling of as soon as you turn the game on and the music, like the theme song for Halo just gets a special place in my heart. Like, my kids know the theme song. So, it's just that it's the music and everything. I don't know if it's really a moment in the game so much as just turning the game on. So
it's so good. That's I feel like that's what the more recent Halos are really missing.
Yes.
Like if you go back through 1, 2, 3 ODST Reach, the music is phenomenal.
It's so good. It's so good. Yeah.
Yeah, that chanting. It's hard to beat it.
Yeah,
It's amazing.
Not even just the menu. I'm talking about like in Mombasa City and that saxophone comes in.
Oh yeah.
It's like I put the controller down and just sit there for a minute.
It's so good.
Okay. Is there anything that you don't like about your favorite game?
No.
Okay.
I will die on this hill. More gray hallways everywhere in every game. It's foundational.
That's all we need. Gray hallways. All right. And of course, would you recommend that someone play this now?
1,000%. Yes. Everyone should play it.
Have the kiddos attempted it yet?
Yes. They have played it numerous times as well. So although my kids are the outliers in our family that are really obsessed with Doom, and so that would probably be their contribution to any conversation about their favorite game, but they play like all the mods and the crazy stuff that I don't even know where they find these things. So
Doom mods are insane.
Yeah.
They are.
Those guys are nuts.
Okay. Yeah. Excellent list, Laura. Now, TJ, it's your time to show us your wisdom.
There have
Your
been
number one.
probably 70 games in this franchise, or at least as a part of this franchise. And many of them are really quite bad. However, I still think Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic 2 is one of the greatest games ever made. And Christian and I are both going to talk about this, I'm pretty sure. But I play through Knights of the Old Republic 2 at least once a year now. I've been completely in love with the game for like the past 20 years. I've never really stopped playing it. We got it. What is it? So I want to say the first time I actually got exposed to Knights of the Old Republic 2 was, y'all ever see Robots?
Yes.
The movie Robots. We rented that from Movie Gallery one time, and it had a demo on it for Knights of the Old Republic 2.
Nice.
I remember that being a thing. That's crazy. Yeah.
Yeah. So we never returned that because I played that demo a ton. I think it's still at my parents' house. And Movie Gallery is now defunct, so that's great. They're not getting their money out of us.
There you go.
But I did eventually buy the game and just started playing it and fell so in love with just the world that they created for this game that just wasn't anywhere else in Star Wars media at the time. It's just, to me, this is peak Star Wars, being in the experience, affecting the world in such a, so strongly. Also played this one before I played Knights of the Old Republic, which I was a kid. It's not my fault. I'm not going to wait. I have to play the first one. I just wanted to play it. But it is really so genuinely special, I believe, and unfinished. And it was produced in 18 months. It's amazing.
Yeah, the fact that they weren't able to finish it and it's still that amazing, that's a testament to the writing and the designers. Yeah.
Yeah. As far as games I could play with my eyes closed, there might be a couple on the list that I could maybe figure out, but this one I could for sure play Knights of the Old Republic 2 with my eyes closed. I've legitimately put well over 1,000 hours into this 20-hour experience. It's phenomenal.
Oh, absolutely. So Yeah, you said 1,000 hours. Yeah, that's a lot of
At
time.
least.
I'm probably somewhere close to that. Favorite character?
Darth Revan's one of my favorite characters. He's not technically in it because you're the Exile. I just wanted to say
Yes.
that. I was always a really big Bao-Dur fan when I was younger, just because he looked so awesome as a kid. Spiky head, like cool, like not even robotic arms. Just got like energy connecting his arm to his shoulder. This is like the coolest character design in Star Wars. Darth Malak, of course, Darth Sion. I really love all the characters in this game, and you get to know all of them so well. Even like Sion, and well, you kind of get to know Nihilus.
Nihilus.
He doesn't say much, but you get to
Can't understand him.
like, I feel that. I understand what he's saying.
Same.
Yeah, it's the most relatable character in the game.
Okay. It's just Dan.
It's so hard to choose one character. So I'm going to go with T3M4, Easy Sweep.
Okay.
Love that little guy.
Solid.
Plenty of personality in that little droid.
How about a moment?
So
Hard to pick down.
when I was a kid, I got stuck on Tilo Citadel Station for, I think, a couple of months. I could not figure out how to get off of that station and down to the planet. But I figured it out eventually. And that's probably the moment for me, like looking back at it, landing on this planet, meeting Bao-Dur, and getting to like realize how big the game is going to be for the first time. Phenomenal. Escaping Paragus, that was always a classic. I like nowadays when I play it, I skip Paragus.
Yes.
Shout out mods that just let me skip Paragus. That's awesome. I love that. It's fine, but man, it is annoying to play through.
So you'd say that's something you wouldn't like about it?
That's probably the only thing I don't like about it is Paragus. And even still, like I'll do it every once in a while. Like if it's been an especially long time since I've done my playthrough, I'll go through it. Then I'll regret it. Like once I get to the part where I have to like go outside and get the spacesuit.
Oh my gosh, it takes forever.
It takes so long.
Yeah. So TJ, to the surprise of no one, would you recommend this game to someone else?
Yes, but it's only fair to warn somebody if you're going to recommend they play KOTOR 2. Because the game is unfinished. Like there are some parts of the game where you're just not going to, you might get stuck. Game might not progress right. You might get soft locked. That's happened to me a couple of times. And the mechanics are not modern in the slightest. Like we talked about the other day. When you play Morrowind, you don't like that it's rolling dice to hit stuff. That's all this is. And I love that. That's like one of my favorite things ever. It would be really annoying to go back to that today if it weren't in the context of these old RPGs. But I love that system. I would just warn them. But I would recommend it to literally everyone.
Okay. Laura, judging by your reactions, have you played the game as well?
So I've played bits and pieces. I know I'm losing my nerd card for this one. I was a Rogue Squadron, Rebel Strike, like the flight, kind of stuff. Those were my games, but I didn't play as much of the Republic games. So
I'm willing to throw an honorable mention to Jedi Starfighter.
Okay.
On the Xbox, I did play that a lot.
One.
Played that a lot.
Yeah.
It was a lot of fun.
Solid.
But it is not.
Right.
That's the Old Republic 2.
It is not. And once again, the absolute surprise of no one, I've listed as my favorite game of all time before on the show. It is Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic 2. I love this game in a way that I can barely put into words at times. It's the world building that is done here, the characters that are part of your team and that you can meet on these very fun and vibrant planets. Even knowing that this game was rushed for Christmas release and that they just had a couple more months, they could have polished it off and it would have made a perfect game even more perfect. Does not irk me at all. It's so beautiful. It just the way they explore the Force from this game. And a deconstruction, and that then turns into a reconstruction, which is where a certain middle movie in a new trilogy failed utterly to do. I will not say any more. I've already said plenty. Like, this game gets Star Wars right. It understands what the Force is about. It understands what the Jedi are about, the Sith, the Republic, criminal organizations, how to build a world. This is fun. The lightsaber combat is so much fun once you actually understand what's going on. As a kid, I didn't get it, but now I can, so that's how I should arrange my stats. Sure, I can work with that. But I don't care, because I'm going to keep playing this game just like TJ every single year, because no matter how many times I've played it, it still feels fresh to me going into this. Like replayability, we mentioned earlier, is something we like in games. This is a replayable game multiple times over. How many times we played them? Probably about as much as TJ, 1,000+ hours. Who's to say? Certainly not I, because I can't remember how many times I've done it. Favorite character is going to be Kreia. I love this cantankerous old woman because I see a little bit of myself in her at times when I'm at my worst. But also just to see her philosophy, to see how, her idea of that there must always be a Darth Treya, and how she has organized things to get the results she wants. I love chess master characters who can roll with the punches and get people to where they want them to be. And then at the end, she still listens, if you're on the light side, to give up on her ambitions and to trust in you and trust that the Force is something that is supposed to be in the world. And that's such a beautiful moment of her, like, not giving up on her ideology, but also remaining herself the entire time. That snarky, like I said, cantankerous woman who is just like done with people, who is done with the whole Jedi Sith conflict, and is one of those kind of mentors where you're never quite sure, like, did she like what I just did? Did she hate what I just did? And it's so much fun unpacking that years later. Did I make the right choice with her? My influence went up and it went down at the same time. I'll never know unless I look up a guide. Favorite moment? Too many to list. Of course, there's always the final battle when you're working alongside the Mandalorians and protecting Telos. That's good. Protecting them from the Sith. But honestly, it's going to be the Dantooine cave with the crystals. And it was in the original KOTOR, but this one felt way more personal because they give you your own crystal. And it meant a lot to me too, because I actually leveled up to, I think, the 15, which is when you get your prestige class at a time. And I had no idea what that meant, but I got to figure out, this is the kind of Jedi I want to be. Right after I get my own personal crystal, it's like the game planned for that to happen, even though obviously it didn't, but I was too dumb to understand. And it just feels good to go back to that cave, see all these different crystals, get mine that I can attune to all these different things. Yes, please, more of that. Things I don't like, I mean, we mentioned Paragus. It's way too long for its own good. The fact that it was rushed. There's a ton of stuff that's missing from the games, but like TJ mentioned, a good thing now is we have things like mods that can restore some of that content. I never play without them, so I can never go back to playing on the Xbox, but I've played the heck of it on Steam multiple times through. And would I recommend it? Yeah, the caveats TJ mentioned, of course, if you're not into that kind of combat, if you're not into the fact that this was rushed, I get someone saying no to that. I'm not going to take offense, but play this game. Play all these games. I think we assembled a pretty fine list here tonight. Anything else before we start wrapping up?
We skipped Gen 5. I want to say Jet Moto GP. Roll it back to
I'd
PlayStation.
have to give thought to that one.
I love hover bikes. That game was awesome.
Okay. Laura, anything for you?
No, I just really want to go play Halo now. Yeah.
If we've inspired you, we'll consider this episode a success.
I do have one more thing. One more thing.
Okay.
KOTOR 2 is, as many flaws as it has, I would say almost flawless. They don't do open world games like that anymore. The story is linear, but you're choosing the line.
Yes.
I always go to Dantooine first, because I want that lightsaber crystal.
Yeah, that's right. Gotta go to Dantooine first.
It's so good. It's so good.
You guys have any recommendations to offer to the audience?
Buy an Xbox, the original Xbox. Or a GameCube, to be fair. A lot of these games are on GameCube. You can get a GameCube for about $100 right now.
And then buy some Advil for the carpal tunnel you're going to have from playing with the Duke controller, because it kills your wrist. And you're used to more ergonomic styles nowadays. So take care of yourself in your old age if you're like me.
Yeah. I would like to
That's
throw
our third product placement of the day.
I want to put out there, I might have been bad at these games, but I was a child holding the biggest controller of all time.
Oh my gosh. Talk about a janky system.
Really, that wasn't made for anyone.
That was not made for anyone.
What were they
the
thinking?
Buttons are way up,
aliens.
And it's not like the N64 was the best in the world, but it's like night and day compared to the two.
And white and black were up.
So besides the Advil, any other media you'd like to throw out there for the good people? Okay. Go ahead.
No, now I'm thinking about video games, and I just went back to we talked, to bring it full circle, we were talking about Call of Duty at the very beginning, and I really think that everyone should just go spend at least an evening playing Nuketown map, because it's my favorite chaos in the world, and it's just a lot of fun to just run in and, throw Semtex grenades and hope for the best.
Nuketown,
it's a great time.
Nuketown 24/7, hardcore.
I love it.
Hard point. Domination.
Yep, hard point. That's the way to play.
I love it.
Fair enough. Yeah, I recently fell asleep because Pluto TV has been a massive boon to me. Watching old stuff I don't have to care about. It had been a while since I've seen it. Jeepers Creepers 2, one of the best unintentional comedy films in the entire world. It is awful, and I love every moment of it. So, yeah, go check that one out. So, guys, thank you for everything that you do. Please, if you get a chance, leave a 5-star review on your podcasting platform of choice. If you're listening to this and watching this on YouTube, leave a comment. Let us know your list. Like, that was our top 3. I want to hear yours. You can go beyond 3. I don't care. I want to hear and see what you guys have to say. So, yeah, subscribe to our channel, too. You can email questions to us at systematicecology@gmail.com. We'd love to hear more about what you have to say. If something further you want us to discuss, you guys have episode ideas, we always love doing that for you. I'd like to shout out some patrons and supporters real quick. Thank you, Russell Gentry, Justin Vaughn, Annette Knoll, and Jeannie Mattingly. You guys are the best, but remember, we are all the chosen people, a geekdom of priests.
If you'd like to support our show on Captivate, feel free to go to captivate.fm and find our show, subscribe. You'll get access to any future online D&D campaigns over there. You'll get an extra bonus question for 4 to 8 times a month. You'll get extra content like that through there. You also get a one-time donation you could make to help support the show right on Captivate. So you don't get anything for the one-time donation, but if you would like to just support the show once, do a quick donation, you can do that through captivate.fm. Our overhead includes editing software, marketing, equipment, recording software, and a whole lot of other stuff. And we really appreciate everybody who can help keep the lights on.
If you love our show, you can follow the whole network in a single feed on Spotify at Anna Zara Ministry Podcast or the network page on Apple Podcasts. There you'll find shows like The Homely, The Whole Church Podcast, My Seminary Life, Let Nothing Move You, Dummy for Theology, The Bible After Hours, as well as mine and my husband's show, The Clydes, where my husband Taylor and I go through weekly discussions in a devotional conversational method to help us all get closer to one another and God.